There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin, and right there is Brishelle. Brishelle, how are you today?
I'm very good. I'm very excited for this episode because we are going to have an extravagant conversation, probably in a bigger way than we have before. Don't you agree with the different perspectives?
Oh, absolutely, because to give you a little background, Sylvia was 12 years old, and she said, I think I want to be a pharmacist because I want to work with people and to help them have a better life. And she kind of wasn't aware that pharmaceutical science in Western culture right now doesn't have a lot of herbal remedies to it. So because of that, she also studied Ayurvedic medicine, which is, by the way, if you're unfamiliar with it, it comes from India from like 5 billion years ago, and they've been using it for forever. And it's popular in Europe. It's getting a little bit more popular here, but they're going to tell us all about that. So James and Sylvia Boblak are here, and and their website would be, Brishelle.
Yes, their website is a teaspoonofwisdom.com, because sometimes all it takes is opening your mind to the possibility of doing things differently than you've been told your whole life.
And we have been told our whole life in Western medicine, here, take this pill. But that doesn't, all it does is mask symptoms. At least from my understanding, it doesn't necessarily cure anything. And they're interested in curing stuff. With James and Sylvia, would I be correct in that, or Jim?
Oh, yes, that is exactly right. I've been I was a pharmacist for 16 years and or in pharmacy for 25 years because I was a technician as well before that. And yeah, every time somebody gets put on a medication, they don't get off of the medications. They stay on them, and then they add more on, and more and more and more. And one always leads to another at some point, and people don't get cured.
Which is a major problem because the pharmaceutical companies make money if they keep you on something like forever. And so it's not a matter of healing, it's a matter of managing. Would that be correct in that, Sylvia?
Yeah, that's spot on. Absolutely. Yeah, you might have your symptoms resolve for a little bit of time, but it's only a matter of time that your body revolts because it wants to seek balance. And when you put something in your body to mask a symptom, like blood pressure, let's say, there's going to be something else that pops up because of that medication. Because you're not creating balance, you're just masking things. So your body is smart. It wants to seek balance, and it revolts.
Do you watch the commercials that pharmaceutical companies put on television?
Oh, they're so annoying. The worst.
They do make it seem like, oh, these people are just having the greatest time of their lives. They just dealt with this wild disease, and now they're just so perfect. And
you should have this disease, be on these medications. You'll be healthier, happier than the average person.
Yeah, and then they'll list 20 things that and potential death and this, that, and just
really super fast. You might die, and this might happen, and but you know what? You could try it.
Yeah,
but there's maybe a small chance you might end up like these people that look like they're doing great.
Well, and it always kills me because I watch football, and they were playing some pharmaceutical commercials, and it was like, and the potential side effects, and probably not, but it could happen. You could die. Like, oh, I want to take that. That sounds like fun. And stuff. So we're excited about having you here because you're going to educate us on a whole lot of natural ways of doing things better to get rid of some of the things. And one of the things that we're going to talk about a lot is iron. So Brishelle, do you know? I have to be honest. I thought I knew a lot. I don't know anything about iron. Do you?
You know, you're making me kind of second guess myself, maybe the same. The only thing I know about iron, rather than it can be the cause to everything in your body, whether it's too much or too little, but a lot of times men, I've heard, have too much of it and women don't have enough. But then there's also this barrier line that's like, you know, everybody could probably use a little more iron. But the way that we learn about these metals is not proper. Therefore, we just kind of categorize things. Would you both agree with that?
Yeah. So that iron thing is it's a little bit misleading because they do estimate 75 to 100 million people in the US alone would be potentially deficient in iron, and like in the world they say 2.5 billion. Like if you just look at the US, 75 million. So we are currently consuming more iron than ever in human history. So 90 to 95% of our flour has iron added to it already. You know, so we end up having like our cereals, our breads, you know, supplements, multivitamins, ice creams, crackers.
Wait a minute. now you're getting deeply involved here.
know.
Ice cream has iron in it?
It's devastating. I looked at one of the ice creams at the store the other day, and it said reduced iron on there, and I'm like, oh my God, Jim, did you know that? Like, what is the point? Because they had like some kind of like cookie whatever in there, which was made with a flour that was fortified with iron plus other things, you know, B vitamins and stuff.
Well, I've heard it's even in baby food. Is that correct?
Oh my God. It's actually in high quantities in baby foods, infant formulas. It's just a huge amount. And so like we are eating way more iron than ever in history, yet everybody is deficient in iron. And like, so it seems like really weird, like very like, how is that possible if we're eating so much iron? Well, it's not possible because we are eating so much iron. So what ends up happening is that if you have a lot of inflammation going on in your body, what ends up happening is your body won't utilize iron, because iron ends up making different infections, viruses, you know, cancers, things like that. It ends up making all these things worse. For example, like a lot of bad bacteria, like E. coli, for example, they love extra iron. So like if you have too much iron, they will scoop it up and start to imbalance your microbiome because they love extra iron. Other things, it'll cause inflammation, cancer. Cancer uses 5 times the amount of iron that like a regular cell would use, for example. So your body, when you start having some sort of immune response, your body will start blocking your ability to use the iron. So what happens is your body is trying to block it, and then like you're being told you need to take more iron, and so you're just blasting it with more and more iron, and your body is trying to fight you from using it, and so it ends up accumulating so much in there, and it ends up causing just a huge amount of devastation. And so that's usually the part of when anemia. So maybe I'll just backtrack. So because anemia is like basically your inability to get enough oxygen from your red blood cells or hemoglobin, and it requires iron. Iron is at the center of the hemoglobin that is taken to the lungs. The oxygen is picked up by the iron. It attaches to the iron and then goes to everywhere in your body. And so that's how you'll get oxygen everywhere. And so when you have anemia, so anemia is actually caused by a lot of things, not just iron. I think most people just think of like iron as like you're anemic, like you need more iron, but anemia very commonly can be caused by inflammation. And a lot of people walk around not knowing they have inflammation going on. So what happens is that as you have chronic inflammation, and most of the time it's going to be from just the crappy food that we eat. So like
stress too.
Stress. A lot of the foods we eat, you slowly get some inflammation going on, and then slowly your body starts blocking iron. You become anemic, but that doesn't mean it's because you're deficient in iron. And so basically, yeah, that's a process. More people end up having inflammation than they do because of iron, because we eat so much iron. You're almost very, very unlikely to have anemia from not having enough iron, because we are literally eating an insane amount of iron right now. So it's most likely to be from some sort of chronic either infection or inflammation that you have. And, you know, between all the way we live currently with the stress and all the processed and packaged foods that is known to cause this type of inflammation over years and years of eating it, you will slowly accumulate inflammation that you won't know is going on there until later on when it presents as a disease at some point, then you're like, oh, shoot, I have this going on. But this thing was already going on for years.
And I don't know, you guys are younger than me, and I don't know if you remember, there used to be a product that they advertised on variety shows and stuff like that. It was called Geritol. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And Rochelle doesn't. She's too young for that. But they used to say, do you have iron poor blood? You need to take Geritol because that'll make you iron rich blood or whatever. that has proven over time to be all just a fallacy, and none of it was true, right?
Yes. And let me throw a question at you guys. So that iron that like in a Geritol or in all these infant formulas, foods, cereals, where do you think that iron comes from?
I'm scared. I'm kind of scared to get the answer to that one.
Yeah.
We think that it's from like animal fats and things like that, right? So we're like, oh, it's healthy, but
yeah. I think most people would think reasonably like, okay, they got to be getting it from some sort of plant or animal sources. And it turns out that that's absolutely not the case at all. So the majority, ferrous sulfate is one of the irons that's the most common that would be in foods and supplements is ferrous sulfate. That's a type of iron. And that one, per the EPA, the majority of it comes from something called steel pickling. So this is literally used up steel or scrap iron metals that get dipped into sulfuric acid. So this bath of sulfuric acid will strip off rust, something called mill scale, other metals and contaminants. It strips it all off into this bath. Then inside that bath, the iron that it's stripped off will react with that sulfuric acid to create ferrous sulfate. So then it will crystallize, they will filter it out of there, they'll wash it off, they'll crush it up, and that's what's put into the food. And most people are like, nobody knows that, or hardly anybody knows this. And it's just such a wild thing. And so that's the ferrous sulfate. Even the other one that you'll see on packages is reduced iron. The first time I saw reduced iron, before I knew what reduced meant, I was like, oh, does it mean like they're putting less iron in there? And no, it was just reduced down to a metallic iron. So basically what it is they get like they have a couple different processes, but often they use recycled scrap metals as well. And they end up reducing it down to just a straight iron. And then they just crush that up into a fine powder. And that's what's put into the reduced iron.
So what's the point in all of this? Is it just so that we don't have metal laying around, or specifically because they know how harmful it is and they want to kill us? Or
well, okay, so it's funny because I always tell Sylvia, I was like, I guess it doesn't really matter that much to me, but like I'm not sure because I guess I'll go over the differences in that iron versus like what you get from foods, but like I'm not sure if it was something evil or just complete incompetence. I'm not 100% sure either way. It's really crappy, but
it just seems like a waste. It's like an extra step for no reason.
Well,
to create madness.
It actually that's the cheapest way to get iron into food. So that's why they do it. So the other way that it would be done is literally mining for it, like they would mine for iron for steel.
Yeah.
They do have some newer things of like getting it from some foods, but it's extremely rare. But literally the majority of it is harder to extract iron out of like a plant or animal food. So it's just way cheaper just to literally use, a steel mill's leftovers basically, and it's like, obviously it'd be much cheaper. They make more money off of it because now they just have this stuff that they weren't going to use anyways. And then it gets sold to be put into our food. So
interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is it kind of like fluoride? Because fluoride is a byproduct that they needed to find something to do with it. And so they put it in our water and all that kind of stuff. Now that may be a conspiracy theory. I don't know, but
It's not. It's really tested. I know that there is iron and all sorts of things in the water, right?
Yeah. I mean, iron is naturally found. So iron is actually the most abundant element by mass on Earth. So it is the most abundant. So it will be in the soil. You'll find some in water. I mean, you will find it. You will find it everywhere. Every plant, even like every plant. So like people might think like there's always that thought like, well, if you're vegetarian or vegan, you need to take some iron supplements. But every single plant also has iron in it. So even if fruits, vegetables, they will all have some content of iron in there because it's in the soil. So every living thing has learned to use it, but the way it's used is so much different than this steel pickling type of iron that I was mentioning earlier. And I don't know if I should get into that. Do you want me to get into that at all? Or
I'll tell you what, we need to take our first break, and when we come back, I want to ask you, because you've got an online course that talks about all of this so that you can educate people on how to perhaps eat it a little bit better. Because one of the things I have to tell you, I have a rheumatologist and I have inflammation. And I said, where did I get my inflammation? She says, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. And I said, well, my sister has the same. Yeah, well, I don't know. And we don't know what causes it, but you got it. And so I'd love to get your opinion on that too. Brichelle, are you hungry now?
Yes, it's making me hungry. I would prefer for them to at least put dirt in everything, but it's okay. We could probably learn, because it's confusing how we have the most metals, but we're deficient in other places. It's the opposite. It literally is mind-boggling. So go to their website, which we're going to talk all about. They have all this information on ateaspoonofwisdom.com, and we'll be right back to dive deeper.
Here is another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. The world is full of people who would die for someone they love. But what about living for them? Waking up early to take care of your health. Letting go of the habits that steal your years. Choosing rest instead of running yourself empty. The truth is, your family doesn't want a hero who dies for them. They want a parent who stays. A friend who grows old with them. A soul who chooses life every single day. Don't just die for love. Live for it. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and Brichelle is right there. And I got to ask you, that commercial was live life better and don't die for the folks you love, but live for them. Is managing your iron levels a way to live longer and to live healthier?
Well,
depends on how you look at it, right? Managing in which way, because most people think that we're deficient, so we actually should be consuming more iron. But yes, to be healthier and to live longer, you actually want to reevaluate the sources from which you get your iron, and evaluate things like inflammation and stress and different contributors to why your body might be blocking that iron that you already are consuming. Because if you eat food on a regular basis, you are getting enough iron. You're like consuming enough iron, I should say, right? So then it's just a matter of figuring out whether your body is blocking it because it's seeing it as a threat to your current issues that you need to resolve, or if you're actually absorbing it.
So when a pharmacist or a doctor recommends iron supplements, are they saying it's because you have low iron in your body and you need to, and that may cause anemia or other symptoms that you need to increase your iron level? But is that actually the right way to go?
Well, here's the thing is, it really depends on a few different scenarios. So often what happens is, yes, the doctor, either you're tired and they're just going to recommend iron, or they'll do a simple blood test, which will, like a simple normal blood blood work will have hemoglobin on there. And hemoglobin, if it goes below, let's say for men, something like 13, or women, if it's below 12, they'll say that you're, anemic and you need to take more iron. That doesn't really tell the story on like hemoglobin, because that hemoglobin will go down, not just from iron deficiency anemia, but also from anemia caused by chronic disease or inflammation. So it doesn't differ between the two. So, which is a huge difference, because if you're anemic from any sort of inflammation, that you don't need iron. You actually don't want to blast your body with more iron, but that's often what ends up happening.
Well, and Kevin, like you were saying, healthcare practitioners in this country, even like a rheumatologist, which I would attest, should be very well versed on inflammation and where inflammation comes from and how to guide their patients on decreasing their inflammation. They're not familiar with any of this, so it's surely much easier to say take some iron.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and what are ways or tests or things that we can do to know if we're too high or too low, and how to manage that properly without either exploding or taking it away? Because is there ways that we can figure out whether our iron's being used properly or not, and then transform that?
Okay, so and maybe not the best answer for you here, but in general, there is no really good test for it. So there is like a standard test that's the ferritin test. Maybe I won't get into all the details, but on our course, I go into all the details on why that test actually does not show that your iron levels, but it is actually a sign of inflammation. The higher that goes, the higher the more inflammation you end up having. But it's used as a standard test, but the science behind it is completely fraudulent. I mean, I went through all the studies that they used, and it's very unscientific, but they made it as a standard test, but it doesn't show your iron levels, but that's what's used right now.
Weird.
So what I would say is that if you eat food regularly, you're not going to have low iron. You will not. The only people that would have low iron, because they don't eat iron, is literally people that are struggling to eat and consume a lot of food. But you're also going to be very malnourished in a lot of different vitamins as well, not just iron. In America, yes, there's so much iron in foods. You're not going to have low iron. Our bodies were designed to absorb more iron. So in general, probably 80% of the iron we consume doesn't get absorbed, because our body just only takes what's needed. And so what happens is that if you are getting lower, your body will absorb more of it. So it will make changes to make sure that you absorb and extract more iron out of that food you're eating. So your body has your back to know what to do, when to increase it and decrease it when you need it.
That's kind of like, I want to mention pregnancy, because that's such a big thing that we focus on. And the same thing with pregnancy. Our bodies are so intelligent, and they do account for the fact that we're growing a baby inside. And so you do absorb more iron during that time. You don't need to load yourself with more. And it's such a huge amount that they tell women to take. The 27 grams is so much iron. Especially when you look at the fact that we recycle the majority of our iron, right? Because we said that we can't get rid of it. Our bodies aren't designed to get rid of it. So we actually recycle most of it. And so we really only need like a few milligrams of iron a day. And that's also for pregnant women. We only need like 3 or 4 milligrams a day, because your body does absorb more.
Yeah, that's right. Because so in general, so actually, just the quick backstory is that we wanted to start with kids from the beginning of their lives. So we actually first created a pregnancy course. And what came of it was that when we were looking at this iron recommendation for pregnant women, nothing made sense. Wait, this is an insane amount of iron. There's no way somebody could get that in their diet. How did people survive for thousands of years without eating this much iron, And none of it made sense. And then after we dove into it, we're like, holy cows, there is so much to iron that is just not out there. So a pregnant woman in general would need to absorb 3 to 4 milligrams of iron. And that's absorbed. But like I said, your body will absorb more when you need it. And actually going back to the to the reason they even put it into food in the first place. And I don't know if this is 100% true, but a couple pieces of literature show that some reasoning that they actually fortified food with iron was because they said that pregnant women needed more iron. And so then they probably figured like, oh, everybody else getting a bunch more would be fine.
That's the mentality of like too much won't hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know all the official reasons, but I did see some piece of literature that suggested that might have been some of the reasoning behind it. You know, like that's probably like accounts for like 1% of the population, you know, pregnant women. But you know, they thought, oh yeah, it'd be fine for everybody else to get a bunch of this iron.
So I'm kind of curious if we don't eliminate iron and it stays in our bodies, where does it go? Does it go into fat cells?
Yeah. So what I would say, so what happens, so the whole process is what happens is, so some of it depends. If we're talking about like the synthetic version of iron, or actually maybe I'll go over the food ones first. So the ones from like plants, for example, if you eat it and you don't need the iron, that iron is bound to chelators, and chelators are things that bind to metals to keep them safe, because even for a plant, a free iron would be very dangerous. So they're always protected with chelators attached to them. So like polyphenols, phytates, you might have heard of some of these names. They are attached to them. So if you don't absorb the iron, it will stay attached and get through the rest of your intestines and out of your colon and leave very safely. The ones from meat, so irons from animal sources, they have something called a heme ring around the iron. And so if that doesn't get absorbed, that ring stays around it and protects it from being free and also goes out of your body fine. The ones from these ferrous sulfates, reduced irons, they don't have anything attached to it. So what happens is that when they don't get absorbed, which is most of it doesn't get absorbed, so either some of it will get picked up by bad bacteria, which there's a bunch of them, that will end up causing inflammation, destroying your gut lining, cause leaky gut, like just so much destruction. So yeah, as you will imbalance your microbiome. But then another thing that happens to that iron is that it reacts with hydrogen peroxide. So this was like in school, we would have learned it, which is funny because I would have never imagined how it actually applied back then to I know now. But it's called a Fenton reaction. So this free iron will react with hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is a normal byproduct of cell metabolism. So it will be found in your body. So when it comes in contact with hydrogen peroxide, it creates a free radical. And this, the one that's with iron is called a hydroxyl radical. And it's known as one of the most damaging things in nature. It literally it'll mutate DNA. It will damage and destroy cell walls and kill cells altogether. So that, as you could see, as you're adding much of that, and okay, so this way, everything is like very synergistically gets worse as you keep doing, as you keep taking more iron, because as you
and Jim, I got to tell you that you're making her face go in really strange directions with what you're saying here.
Well, and it's because there's so many sources of food, but one meal can seriously make the biggest difference and have lasting effects. I had McDonald's, the other day. I haven't had it in like seriously almost 6-7 months. I felt horrible until it left my body, and I know like it irritated my mood. I had a headache. I felt foggy. All these things. So with iron specifically, are there things that it targets the most that we see that are so common that people can watch out for and know, hey, maybe I can link these two things together? Like high blood pressure, those kind of things.
Gosh, I think that I wouldn't necessarily link it to something like this, but I think that I would just encourage individuals to like look at the quality of food that they're eating, because anything packaged is very likely going to have it's going to be fortified with this kind of iron that we're trying to avoid. So like, I think that the biggest service you can do for yourself, not just for the iron, but for like everything else for your health, is to actually just read the label of things. Fast food is all going to be fortified with iron. I'm just gonna blanket statement that. I'm pretty confident. I feel like
yeah, oh, for sure.
But Yeah, but like just read what you're eating and just check if there's iron in that, and just slowly like start putting away the things that you notice have iron. And it's going to be like a lot of stuff that we eat. And I think that's just the best way to target it, not necessarily by like symptom stuff, because you can't pinpoint if it's the iron or if it's just the fact that you're eating crap, like
and
who knows, right?
I want to add something to that, because so when I was saying earlier about it causes aging and chronic disease, and that's because like slowly as damage accumulates, for everybody it will hit different spots in your body, especially if free iron starts getting to different organs, it will react with this hydrogen peroxide and cause even more damage there. So like there's studies out there. So like diabetes, for example, in type 2, the iron content in a pancreas for a type 2 diabetic is way higher than a healthy person. Atherosclerosis, for example. So they often blame cholesterol as like what clogs your arteries and causes, a heart attack, whatever. And what they found is that in a study that atherosclerotic, sorry, that word is so annoying for me to say, but atherosclerotic tissue, they found that damaged tissue had 17 times the amount of iron in it than healthy tissue. So you could see that clearly as you this is why I said aging, because you're slowly over years eating all this stuff, and it's not always directly from that iron, but like even processed foods will lead to more iron in there as well. As you're damaging like liver and other things, like you will leak more iron that way as well. The iron is just very central to like a lot of the damage that happens. But as you can see, over years, you will slowly accumulate more and more damage everywhere, and that's what will lead to the aging and chronic disease.
Rochelle, I just want to say I really appreciate you saying that like you noticed that like after you ate the McDonald's that you were like more irritable, or like you notice like the mental aspect of it, because people still often don't put together how much our mental health is affected from the food that we eat. And there's a lot out there now that it's like your gut is your second brain and stuff, right? But like just one meal even. And so for the people that are eating these kinds of meals regularly and do feel irritable and tired and just kind of like, right, have these kind of brain fog and things like that, like, yeah, like this is what happens. So I appreciate you saying the mental part.
Of course.
Yeah, she's not allowed to eat that stuff anymore.
I straight up got mad and canceled all my plans and didn't do anything. And then I laid in bed and played word search for like an hour. And I thought to myself, I'm like, maybe there's a reason for this. And I woke up the next morning and was just kind of foggy and groggy and all these things. And I looked over and saw that bag and I was like, that had way more of an effect on me than I thought, especially since it was the only thing my body processed that whole day. And so I won't do that again. And it's the difference too, when you eat a salad and you don't feel like slumped and tired and bloated and just like sick and tired, you're all of a sudden like your body digests it and then your brain starts working and then you notice a little bit of an energy spike and all these things. But yeah, I wanted to just be downright rude after I ate that, and I didn't care.
Not allowed to have
this
that
isn't
anymore.
good.
We need to take our halftime break, and when we come back, I want to touch on Ayurvedic medicine, because I think that is a really important aspect, and it goes back 5,000 years or more, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. 5,000 is a very accurate, estimate.
Oh, I wasn't here then. Well, maybe I was. I don't know.
I'm sure in some kind of other form.
Yeah, but we'll be right back after this. Stay with us. We've got Dr. James and Dr. Sylvia with us. Rochelle, how do we get a hold of them on their website and find out all about this stuff that we're not supposed to be eating and stuff?
Yes, visit ateaspoonofwisdom.com and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin and Brachelle's here. Brachelle, this is a very interesting conversation, isn't it? Because we don't really know. And I hate to say this, but our government doesn't do a very good job. The FDA doesn't do a very good job. And by the way, did you know, Brachelle, that the FDA does not have scientists that are doing testing?
That's very comforting to know. I don't really know how else to put it.
And that's because what they do is the scientists and the studies that are being done by the people that want to approve certain food products. And you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but if they want to approve they submit tests to the FDA, and then the FDA can sign off on them, but they don't necessarily review the tests as thoroughly as they should. Is that a conspiracy theory, or am I kind of right in that?
You're 100% right.
Yeah, and 100% right. And I guess once you start to look at a lot of studies and start to understand them, you actually could start to find where all the biases are and how they go around actually showing you if something is safe. That is they go around it I'm just going to relate it to iron because I'm familiar with a lot of studies there, but so many of the studies will be iron tablets versus IV iron instead of versus somebody not taking iron, they'll do stuff like that. So it's they're both getting something damaging, or they'll do it super short periods of time so that accumulation of damage won't be seen in a short period of time. And then it's rare that they do a longer one. And the only ones that I've seen where they did longer studies, it showed a lot of damage. So but they, in general, with a lot of medicines, they end up skewing the studies in a way just so they could get a result instead of looking for what the actual result of something is. They're looking to get a specific result. Mm-hmm. So because of that, they find a way to skew things to where okay, this is the result we're trying to get. Let's find a way to get it instead of, well, let's just see what the actual truth is of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Is this why we're seeing so many things being pulled? I've seen hundreds of things in just the last few months of the FDA, this and this and that, recall this and recall that, and calling a alert on this product. And is that why? How bad does it have to get for them to really catch it?
Yeah, it's kind of it's giving it to patients is kind of like an experiment. It's kind of what it seems like, because if these studies are so skewed and they're really not representing truth and reality, you kind of are still testing them as you give them out to patients, and eventually enough people come up and say, hey, I'm getting this side effect, and then you get enough of it and they pull it. But you have to do some collateral damage in the meantime, as if we couldn't have prevented that, right? I'm all about prevention. Why couldn't we have prevented it?
Yeah.
Well, and I'd love to know, because when my rheumatologist says, well, you have inflammation. Why? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You're the doctor. You're supposed to know these things. Well, it's just one of those things. Can you give me some natural ways to lower without prednisone? Let's see, prednisone. That's right there. Yeah. And with some of the other things, can you give people that have inflation?
We all got some of that.
Got enough of it.
And so not only is food not good for us, it costs more. That sucks.
Right? Yeah.
Yay. Go America.
So okay, I'm going to start with the mind. Stress. I think it's one of the biggest contributors to inflammation in modern day times. I mean, food's a whole nother animal too, which I'll talk about. But I think stress is really something we really should focus on more. We kind of just talk about it and we take it as in like, oh yeah, modern day world is kind of go, go, go. And that's just what it is. Easier said than done. I'm just going to be stressed. But we really should start putting in some kind of practices daily, like the way that you brush your teeth every day, like you take a shower, you should be maintaining your mind. And whether that's like every morning, starting your day with like just 5 minutes of like a gratitude practice, meditation, prayer, just kind of anything really that brings you peace, a walk in nature. Stress is a huge, when people say stress kills, it does. And inflammation is like a really big part of how it slowly kills us. So I would really recommend that the people just find peace in their lives, whatever that means to you. And you will definitely be able to target the inflammation a little bit there. In terms of food, stay as close to whole foods as you possibly can. That is the best thing that you can do for yourself. Stay close to foods that your body can recognize, right? So the thing about foods is that they are the main source of fuel for every single cell of our bodies. So just kind of like if you put the wrong gas into a car, you're eventually going to have the car crap out on you and you're going to cause some damage there, right? That's the same thing with our bodies. We have a preferred source of fuel, and that is whole foods, organic material. And I don't mean like pesticides and things like that. I mean, that's definitely a plus to organic food, but organic material, because our bodies can actually recognize it. So when you're going through the digestive process, your body metabolizes it and turns it into something that your cells are going to use. And if we're eating a lot of packaged processed foods that have a lot of synthetic ingredients, preservatives, synthetic vitamins, we don't think about the vitamins being synthetic. We think, oh, vitamins, they're natural. Vitamins are natural if they come from the food, from the meat, from the vegetable, from the fruit. But if you're getting them added to the list of ingredients in your crackers, whatever it is that you're getting off the counter, it's synthetic. And so our bodies can't recognize synthetic material. It's not organic. And so what ends up happening is that it doesn't get converted into fuel. We stop fueling our cells properly, all of our organs, all of our tissues. That stuff that we couldn't convert, couldn't recognize, couldn't digest, ends up like building up in our bodies and causing a lot of damage. And inflammation is one of those things that it causes. So start reading the things that you buy, I would say. Like I would personally challenge everybody to, like, before you purchase anything, look at the ingredient label and just pause. It's going to take a while. Your shopping trips are going to be much longer. It's going to get annoying because you're going to realize that you've been eating crap your whole life. And so there's going to be a lot of shifts that have to happen, but it's really worthwhile because that's going to be such a huge contributor to tackling that inflammation. Yeah. Less ingredients, more whole foods.
So are you telling me that when a box of cereal says fortified with 16 different vitamins, she just had a heart attack.
Yeah. We've been talking about this so much because we're just like devastated. We're like, all the cereal that we've eaten our whole lives, and they're having kids eat these cereals and they're telling them they're okay and they're going to nourish them. Yeah. These are synthetic vitamins. Our bodies can't process them. And just like in the short term, you'll have like results. Like they'll give you this like short boost. You'll absorb some things, some things will kind of be working, but over a long period of time, as you kind of add all this up, your body starts breaking down, right? It becomes less capable of handling all of that synthetic material. And then you start seeing different diseases popping up based on whatever your predispositions are.
Yeah. And also they work synergistically together. All these vitamins, in food, it has literally just the optimal amount of each other one because all of them are used with each other. Like, I know I'm just going to use iron as an example just because I'm so familiar with iron, what iron uses, but like iron needs copper in the body to load it and absorb it. And so like if you look at a cereal, they might have a bunch of iron in there and they'll have literally 0 or like 0.1 milligrams of copper in there. So they don't have anything near the proper proportions. Whereas like certain meats will have like, let's say a meat has like 5 milligrams of iron, and it has like 12 milligrams of copper. So it has like the right proportion for it to be utilized properly. But like in our foods, like we're never going to be able to replicate how it comes, because like then copper uses other minerals as well. And so like every vitamin uses other vitamins and minerals to help utilize them in the body. So it has like a holistic way of working together, and like it's impossible to replicate it in food. So like, yeah, when we're putting a bunch of synthetic ones in there, it's not going to work anywhere near optimal.
Food, nature, and the way that food works with our bodies is such an intricate, amazing science and art, and it's not understood fully by the human species. And so we need kind of an ego check, because we think like food science, super cool for so many different reasons. Lots of help there with the food science, but it's made us think that we can like break food down into like, just like, okay, so you need this and this and this. And the formula for what we actually need is so much more intricate than the human brain can fathom at this point. And we just have not done a good job replicating it. And nor do I believe that we can. And nor do I believe we should. I think we need to backtrack a little bit.
Yes.
So natural food is really the way to go. But I and just so you know, I used to be a chicken salesman, and I worked for a vertically integrated chicken company, and they did it from the egg all the way through the slaughterhouse and so forth. And they would say antibiotic free. Ha! That's just not true, because and nobody ever explained this to me satisfactorily. But did you know that 100 years ago, it took 15 weeks to take a chick to a 3-pound live weight for it to be slaughtered? They now do it in 6.5 weeks.
Ooh. Wow. But no hormones, right?
Nothing added.
Antibiotics, and that's one of the reasons why children are developing through going into puberty so much faster.
Yes.
And there are 8 and 9-year-old girls that have to have bras and stuff because, and so I wanted to ask you. It used to be, lactose intolerant, and we need to take a break, but lactose intolerance and gluten-free and all that wasn't the thing 50 years ago or 70 years ago. Why is it such a thing now? Is it because we're discovering more, or is the food changing and the milk that we got 60 years ago isn't the milk that we get today? And I'm gonna ask them to answer that question. So Brachelle, by the time we're done, you're not gonna want to eat anything.
Whole Foods? What do you mean? Whole Foods? That's so much.
I'm gonna have sushi tonight. I already planned that, and I'm happy about it, and my body will love it. If you yourself have more questions about James and Sylvia have probiotic health options through their website, healthmadeinamerica.com. So if you're worried about what you're taking, or if it is true to what it says it is, you can visit there and maybe find some new stuff. Also, a teaspoonofwisdom.com is where you can find them and their work and all the other information. And yes, let's talk about Kevin's question when you come back, because I am curious myself.
And we'll be right back. Just 30 seconds. And by the way, Brachelle allows me to do a music show on the Brushwood Media Network, and this tells you a little bit about that. Not every song changes you, but the right ones do. At Greatest Vibes Unplugged, we share music that hits deeper, no filters, no noise, just pure sound with soul. This is your reminder that light still exists, and sometimes it sings. And remember, you can look up in the sky and see the stars, but still not see the light. And welcome back to Positive Talk. By the way, Greatest Vibes Unplugged airs on Brushwood Media Network at 9 a.m. Eastern and 6 a.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. I invite you because Brachelle's awesome and I just show up. But in any event, I wanted to ask you, lactose intolerance and all of those things that we do now, and gluten-free and all of that. Has our food changed? Has our body changed? Or are we learning more about why certain things affect us?
So it's a combination, I would say. Sure, we're learning more. So we're putting like a label of like okay, this would be considered we're putting kind of like just a label on, I suppose, because of us learning more. But I would say the reasons as to what's happening is that, so it's a few things. Yes, our food is certainly of poor quality. Milk, definitely. So we are a raw milk family. We are definitely advocates of that becoming the norm in our country again, because we totally process milk completely differently when it's raw and when it's been pasteurized. Yes, the wheat crop is right, so genetically modified. It's there's so many things wrong with that in terms of like also the herbicides that get put on it, things that our bodies can't process, and we're kind of getting reactions from that. Then there's the fact that our digestive systems as a whole are really hurting and aren't simply strong enough either, because we do eat so many processed things. We do put so much into our digestion that damages it, that we have very, very weak digestions, I would say, as a society. And the beautiful thing about Ayurvedic medicine, there's this like saying that 99% of diseases are linked to a low digestion, because that's kind of where everything starts. So if you have a strong digestion, you will be fueling your body properly. You'll be excreting everything properly. You're going to be balanced, because that's like the first step of where your fuel goes into to help you, make your whole body thrive. With like gluten intolerances, lactose intolerance, I have to comment on vaccinations as well. I know that's a very polarizing topic. The reality is they are affecting our immune system. So what we're getting is that we have hyperactive immune systems because of all the vaccinations. And that is really affecting the way that we respond to different foods. So our body gets triggered by things like wheat, all the different allergies that are out there, right? Like peanuts, all those different allergies. Our immune systems are in this like hyperactive mode. So that's another factor. It's a complex system.
And Rochelle, James and Sylvia have said something earlier that has me just kind of using my imagination in a negative way, which they were describing leaky gut. What the hell is that? And is that a thing?
Yeah. So leaky gut is basically when you haven't been consuming, foods that are organic material that your body can't digest properly, stress, all the different things that you could imagine that would destroy your microbiome. So imbalance your microbiome and kill off the good bacteria that is there to protect us, to protect our gut, to protect that gut lining that like separates what we have in our digestive system from the rest of our body. So you start stress, bad food, smoking, drinking, whatever, pick your poison. So all of that after years, it starts wearing away at the good bacteria, starts wearing away at your digestive wall. And so you start getting basically little holes in your intestinal lining. And that's called leaky gut syndrome. Things start leaking out. Things that are supposed to be in your gut start leaking out into your bloodstream, and your body goes basically into attack mode because those things don't belong there. Your immune system starts attacking itself. So this is where a lot of autoimmune conditions can be linked to, right? So everything always comes back to digestion. I believe that so powerfully, and that's how you fix yourself, is by fixing your digestive system. But that's kind of what that is, yeah.
Well, and is that just like, let's say you have to be over the age of something for that to acquire, or can this happen in children?
Of course, and we're seeing that more and more, because the reality is that we pass on our microbiome and the health of our gut from generation to generation. So what we are seeing is that children, unfortunately, are getting affected with these kinds of conditions younger and younger, because they are already being born with a kind of compromised gut, compromised microbiome. And so, yeah, we're seeing kids experiencing this now too. So no, there's no age really cap, yeah.
It's really, really complicated. I'm glad you guys are out there, because goodness, you know more words that I can't even pronounce than I can say.
I don't know. I don't feel like that sometimes. I was always laughing that after we had our son Huck, like I was always like, mom brain is very real, because I feel like I just don't have the same vocabulary as I used to have. Like I'll just be like, oh, but can you just say it for me?
Well, but you're an extraordinarily intelligent woman, and how old is your child now?
Oh, he's 2 in some months. Yeah, it's magical. He takes
2
a
in
lot.
some months. That's
He's the numbers guy.
there's some people that would say, "Hey, it's 36 months." Or
Never. Oh my God, that always blew my mind. I'm like, how do you guys keep track of that? I was like done after like month 14. I think I was like done.
Yep. Then you need your fingers and a moment to think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, Michelle, any thoughts on? Well, first of all, I wanted to say this and I wanted to get your opinion on it. I've been told many times that when you go to a grocery store, that go to the outside of the grocery store aisles, because that's where the vegetables are, that's where the fruits are, that's where the fresh seafood is, that's where the meats and poultry and milk and all that kind of stuff is, and cheese. And then when you get into the inner part, that's where the processed foods come in, and the frozens. The frozen food aisle is just scary if you start reading labels, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's terrifying. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I actually always like to say, if you don't know what an ingredient is, or you can't pronounce it, then your body's probably not going to know what to do with it either. So that's just like one thing I would stick to is like, yes, if you can't pronounce it or know what it is, then your body's not going to know what it is either, and have trouble with it.
Very good. Well, it makes me think too, because we think about how we talk about iron. We kind of categorize that into like metals in general, right? Because there's all these so million different kinds of metals that they're just throwing in all these random things, titanium and all of that. And before we end the show, I promised you guys I would do this. I got my nickel. But I learned this test from my Hispanic family that said you can test how much metal is in your body depending on where it's at and what the function is. And this is not going anywhere.
You put iron in your brain.
Yes. Yay. Maybe that's why it works sometimes. You can put it in different places, but depending on,
This is cool.
oh, see, it kind of falls from there if I can like not move my face, but depending on, it's supposed to be from your collarbone up, that you can tell where metal is super heavy in your body. It's all in my head. I don't know what that means. But
My brain is swelling.
yeah, is there ways that we can just in general be careful about how much metal we're intaking, other certain things that we're adding on to those irons that we can watch out for, so we're not like me?
Are you a heavy metal head?
Yes, I am. And I actually was gonna, I came up with this whole crazy thing that I was gonna do only salads and steak and eggs diet for like a month and see what happens to my body based off my blood type. But then I realized how expensive a steak is. So I'll have to knock off of that. But just in general, we're picking up these metals from everything. So we need to just be a little more careful of exactly what we're looking for, maybe.
Well, even like makeup. I'm sorry,
I was
thinking about makeup when you said titanium, because that's been like my journey recently of like trying to find makeup that I like and that doesn't have all that stuff, and it's really difficult. There's a lot of like fruit pigmented stuff out there. There's some fun brands that are coming out, but like even makeup for girls is just
lotions, even shampoos.
Yeah,
I mean, like
you should be able to eat what you put on your skin. And that's just a crazy concept for so many people, because we got like Bath and Body Works and all these yummy smelling things, and that's what the mass society uses. And so it's kind of like, how bad can it be? And it's like, well, it's bad. It's really bad.
Well, they took out they started taking out aluminums right out of deodorants.
Yes.
People are looking for aluminum free because everybody thinks that it goes on your skin and you're not going to get any of it, but they're realizing that some of it is absorbing into you and
it takes so long for society to accept things, right? Because I remember like 10 years ago when I was talking about aluminum in deodorant and saying these things to my family, they're like, "Oh, Sylvia, like you're always picking at something," like I was just so loony. And it's like now it's such a generally accepted thing, like you don't want aluminum your armpits, So it takes us a while to like accept that we need to make these changes, or that something we've been doing hasn't been good for us. It's kind of like an ego thing almost. Like, no way. Like, I've been doing this, I'm going to keep doing it. There's nothing wrong with it, right? But,
oh boy, and James and Sylvia, we've run out of time, but you're going to have to come back because we're not nearly done. We've got so much more to talk about. As an example, if somebody says, I can put stuff on my skin, it doesn't matter. They developed something called a nicotine patch. When my brother was trying to quit smoking, he had a patch on each arm twice because you're absorbing the nicotine into your bloodstream directly from the outside of your skin. It affects the clothes that we wear. It affects everything that we do, that we put on our skin. And since nobody is going to allow us, and nor would we want them to run around naked, we do need to make sure that people are dressed with natural stuff rather than synthetic stuff. Is that true?
Totally. I'm a big believer in wearing very healthy, breathable materials, making them cotton, organic cotton if we can. Once again, I know I'm like being so picky because it's hard to find organic cotton clothes and they're expensive sometimes. But yeah, the goal is to normalize that and for us to not be wearing synthetic products that trap all that in, and they destroy your microbiome. Like, we have so many good bacteria on our skin, and when you use synthetic clothes, or when we wear synthetic clothes, they trap. They're not breathable, so our bacteria can't thrive. It ends up dying off, and so you're altering your skin flora when you wear things
bacteria
like
is a whole nother conversation.
Oh, and it's like the best because there's more. We have more bacteria in our bodies and on our bodies than cells, so they're so important.
It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. Are you a good witch or a bad witch? And Rochelle, we've run out of time, but we got to have James and Sylvia back because they've got so much more to talk about. And there are people that are with pen and paper in hand taking notes after this show. So, Rochelle, take us out, my friend.
Yes. Well, thank you, Kevin, as always, for making this possible. Thank you, everybody who joined in and listened. If you didn't listen to the full show, please do so. We'll have James and Sylvia back for questions next time. And thank you both for taking this time, being so dedicated to this work, even though it can be complicated. And we need more of this in our world. So please let us know where the best place is for somebody to find you and everything that you have to offer and coming up. And then just maybe a short little saying you'd like to leave us with.
Okay, well, I'll start off. Yes, our website for our education that we've been doing is ateaspoonofwisdom.com. And on there we have a pregnancy course. We have our course that we call Irony, because everything is ironic about it. But and under construction, we have a fertility course as well. And then we first started with probiotic, and so that's on our website, healthmadeinamerica.com, and you can find our probiotic there.
Perfect.
I think the one, thing that I'd like to leave people with, we didn't talk much about pregnancy, but that's kind of our current passion, because if we're going to reinstill good health into our country, we really need to start where it begins, and that's during the pregnancy process and conception even. But we are working on the fertility course now, as Jim said, but we always say for those families that are struggling to get pregnant, the best way to get pregnant is to live like you already are. And I just want to leave families with that, because it's not something we often think about. But that's just food for thought for all the families that are out there that are struggling.
Very good.
And the website is teaspoonofwisdom.com, correct, yes. Rochelle?
Yeah.
Not to be confused with a teaspoon of sugar helps the medicine go down, which
is also true.
Thank you guys. It's been great fun having you.
Oh, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you
so much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.